in a hot seat.
Very noisy, but out in the house, it's not that noticeable. But.
You know, coincidentally, I just heard a thing about the expression "put a sock in it" the other day.
Oh, yeah,
Do you know that one?
Oh yeah.
You want to tell how that works?
Well, on the other style phonograph, like I have over there, with the horn, most of those have no control either. But if you take one or a pair of socks, works great to cut the volume.
Yeah.
Horseshoe. For medicinal purposes, which is sort of an odd piece. Most people have never seen one of these.
What do you mean for medicinal purposes?
If the horse had a bad hoof or trouble with his foot, you'd put the salve in here and then put this on the horse to protect it.
So I'm here with Sue Ziegler, who's been, well, you've been here longer than there's been a park. Not here at the Deco farm, but...
For the park, I've been here 14 years.
Well, but before, did you more or less grow up at the place with the big pothole up there?
Yeah.
The Ziegler farm on Frederickson Road?
Correct.
Yeah.
That's where I grew up.
Yeah.
Now I live up on Keitlinger Road and I have a farm.
Oh.
And I have a bunch of these birds.
What in the heck is that bird?
This is a female Polish chicken. This one you just can't let it run too much in the wild because he can't see, because all of his feathers blocks his view.
Could you do something about that if you chose to?
You could cut it, or you could put it like in a ponytail, like that. Because he just can't see off the side or in the back like the others can. Hear him talking? Yeah.
Oh, you got a bunny?
Yeah, there's the bunny. These guys all run together.
Oh, you mean at your farm they mingle?
Yes.
Well, that's nice.
They mingle and, but yeah, I got peacocks and guinea hens and you name it, pretty much I have.
Kind of an old McDonald's kind of a farm, only more so it sounds like. I never heard about some of those things at old McDonald's farm.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. So, and then I enjoy bringing them here so people can see them, the different birds, and hold the rabbits and pet the chickens. They sit there. So, but no, I just love to have the kids see these a lot.
Yeah. Good.
Because they're the ones that get enjoyment a lot.
Absolutely.
So.
Great. Your name is Summer?
Yep. Summer Ziegler.
Yeah. And do you know what it is you're holding? Or should we ask Sue?
I think you should ask Sue. I'm not sure what type of bunny this is.
It's one of our bunnies. They're pretty big. This is a chinchilla mixed with like a silver fox, which is black.
And who are you?
We are Grobanzi Seed Sharing Library. More of a statewide national drive to save and share seed to keep biodiversity alive, get seeds acclimated to the area in which they're grown, the soils and the climates. We have lost in the last 100 years like 80% of the seed diversity in this country. So seed saving and sharing is a great way to keep that alive, that heritage.
This here is, you're looking at a hammer dowsman, a hammer dulcimer that was built by Wheeler and Elias Hackett around 1867. And
Wow.
now on the farm complex, they had gypsies living with them in Liberty Center of Ohio. And they, in the early spring, they would peddle these dulcimers and sell them, and they would sell them. They were farmers, so farmers had different occupations. And one of them, they were building hammer dulcimers, like others would build furnitures, cabinets, fiddles, violins, but they built hammer dulcimers. Well, farmer Elias, Wheeler and Elias were the ones that were builders, but they had gypsies living on the farm complex in the winter. And when they left early spring for coming back in the winter, they would take his dulcimers and they'd peddle them and sell them for them. Westphalia waltz.
Okay. So I'm here with Kim Kelderhouse of the Kelderhouse Farm. Or let's see, your grandfather grew up here? Would that be correct?
They moved back to the farm, I think, when he was like 14.
And your great-grandparents lived here, and your great-great-grandparents, would that be correct?
Yep.
Yeah, cool. So what are you doing today?
So today we have rye, and rye was a crop that would have been grown by some of the farmers in Port Oneida. And this particular variety is special because it's called Rosen Rye, which was grown out on South Manitou in agreement with the MSU Horticultural College. Wasn't a state university quite then. And they had developed this variety and got all the farmers out on South Manitou to agree to grow it in seclusion so that it didn't cross-pollinate. So they grew it very successfully out on South Manitou, and they sold the seed all over the world. So the family out there that grew it most successfully was the Hutzler family, and their farm is still standing out there. But we, a couple years ago, tracked down the seed and have been growing it and harvesting it and taking the seed from it and replanting it. So we're hoping that out here in Port Oneida it's staying pure, but it's a variety that likes to cross-pollinate, so you never know.
And so are you demonstrating something here?
Yeah, we are demonstrating threshing, which was the act of getting the seed out of the seed head. And oftentimes the farmers would have done this on a barn floor, but we don't have a barn here today, so we've modified it with this old mattress, box spring mattress.
Oh, that's what this
That's what this is, yep. It's an old, like, not the mattress, but like the frame part of the bed.
Yeah.
And so it lets the seed fall through to the tarp down below, and then we can collect the seed after we've threshed it. So,
Well, that's resourceful.
yeah, just like the farmers here in Port Oneida,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Yeah, it works best when you hit right on the seed heads, and you can kind of hear and see the seeds kind of falling down below.
Okay.
And that makes the rye. This is rye, right? Yeah. Rye is the name of, and then they make bread and stuff with these things. You don't like those?
I fell in love with flowers. Anyway, it didn't take long before I started experimenting at a young age, growing a few flowers here and there, but I had this mistaken idea that well, flowers don't need any, fertilizer or anything. They'll just grow. They don't need to be fed like my food crops do.
So I'm standing here with Tom Sear, my neighbor more or less, who I know a little bit as doing all kinds of cool things with horses for many years. How long have you been doing this now, Tom?
Well, we had horses all our life, so, you know, the heavy horses, probably about 35 years.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we had saddle horses before that.
Oh, okay.
Now we do just the draft horses.
And could you tell me a little bit about these horses here?
This breed that we deal with is Percheron, which is a draft breed that was developed in France during the Middle Ages as a war horse. They were bigger and heavier and used to haul heavy equipment and knights in armor and that sort of thing. And then, of course, after they got over the Middle Age use of them, they decided they were awful good for farming, transportation, and that sort of thing. So that's where the breed developed, probably in the 1500s. So it's got a long lineage back that far. And this is one of the major draft breeds, of which there are in this country 4. The Percheron is one. Then there's the Belgian, the Clydesdale, and the Shire. All of them developed in different countries and just a little bit different appearances. Everybody's familiar with Clydesdale and the 4 white socks and the red roan color. And Percherons are generally black or gray. Belgians are generally a light tan with a light mane and tail. And Shires are very similar to the Clydesdales in terms of color and size.
Well, it's very interesting. I never got an overview like that. Never really knew just about all the different draft horses and so on.
There's a long time ago. It's a comet.
I have a sunbonnet. There's basically 3 parts to it. There's the brim,
Okay.
the most important part to hide the sun. And then you have your basic bonnet piece. Some bonnets, not all of them, but some of them have the, you know, more fabric down here to cover the neck. And of course the tie. A sunbonnet was worn in the morning, and then you didn't take it off till you came in the house. You used it all day long to dig up potatoes, gather the vegetables, protected from the sun and the wind and the weather. Everybody had one right by the door on the peg.
Okay.
So,
We do have something new. This is a fanning mill, and it's going to clean the grain. One of the main crops in Port Oneida was small grains. This is wheat, but they also raise rye and oats. This has been cleaned, but when it came from the field from the harvest, it was often mixed with the straw or the stems, the chaff or the hulls, and maybe a bunch of barn dirt. Okay, so we're going to clean that. And in early days, they would use this by pouring it from bucket to bucket on a windy day and letting this lighter stuff blow away. This is a fanning mill, and it does that kind of work. Now pour that in there. And it's got different screens, and also these are paddles that are going to create the breeze. So we're going to turn the crank, and you'll see the straw blow out the front. Shape, and the clean grain comes out down below.
You did it already.
It's very quick.
Wow.
When you had wagon loads and wagon loads, then somebody would have to turn this for, you know, all afternoon.
So what have we got here? What is this display about?
This is the Forest Pest and Disease Education Zone that we have here. Teaching visitors about different tree species and different pests and diseases that are associated with them. We've set up a trail for visitors to identify trees based on color-coded tape that are marking those trees. Visitors can go and identify which tree is which and then what pests may attack those trees. while they're in that forest stand, they can visualize the forest without those tree species.
Okay, so these things that are spread out in front of you are ones that you've made?
I have, yep. I've made these. It's a lot of earrings. I also have some loom work right here, these rectangular ones, and then a medallion as well.
Uh-huh. And are you connected with the, how did you pronounce it?
Anishinaabe.
Anishinaabe?
Yeah.
Anishinaabe.
I am Ojibwe. I'm from the Sault Ste. Marie tribe of Chippewa Indians.
Okay. Does that mean you're Anishinaabe?
Yep. Anishinaabe is an umbrella term that includes the Ojibwe, the Ottawa, and the Potawatomi.
No, you have one more pitch. Better, you ready? You better. You better. All right, play ball. Back a second. Good one, right to camp. Go, go, go. All right, no play, no play. One run. Charles. Down here.
So Tom, did you do this when you were young? Did your dad make you do this?
Oh, hi Mary, I didn't recognize you. Oh yeah, we made all our own rope.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
Yeah. Voila! You got yourself a jump rope for the week. Thank you.
Okay, ready. Okay, I'm at the Olson farm, and may I ask, you are Mr. Whom?
Henry Chatter.
Okay, and you're the broom guy?
I'm the broom guy.
Okay.
I've been making brooms for approximately 60 years.
Wow. What's the basic idea on how you make this kind of broom? You gonna show me?
Most important thing is keep it tight and put it on evenly so the broom is well balanced.
Okay.
Now I'm starting to make the brooms was all made round, the first brooms. The shakers came along and they invented this machine that flattens the broom out and stitches it. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm making the broom flat by putting bundles on each side. These are called the shoulders of a broom. The wire is tight like a banjo string. Now,
look at mine.
every broom requires 5 layers of material. So I've got 2 layers on there, and now I put these are backward shoulders. I put them on to make the broom even wider, flatter. Put that on backwards. Now I trim it a little, so it don't stick out when the broom is done. Bend them backwards. Now I start to cover up what I made so you can't see how I twisted the shoulders backwards, and you won't be able to see the wire inside. Now I put it on the wire, put a crease in it, I flip it upside down. I'll put it evenly all the way around the wire, around the broom. Doesn't take long to make a broom. Where I spend most of my time is getting the material ready to make the broom. Here's the way I pick it out of the field. Then I sort it by what length broom I can get out of it.
Do you harvest the materials yourself?
Yes.
Gather them?
Today, she brought one of the ones I stitched.
I start with a seed and I wind up with a broom.
Where did you learn to do this?
My father and my grandfather both made brooms, and I've been doing this since I was 8 years old. I used to hate it with a passion, but now I love it, so go figure.
Did they do it as kind of a novelty or
No, they made them to sell in the wintertime mostly when there was farmers. They mostly did it in the wintertime to fill in spare time.
And where was that?
South Dakota.
Really?
Around Mitchell, South Dakota.
Well, if you don't mind my saying, I thought your beautiful accent might come from one of the British Isles.
Never been there. I'd like to go.
Huh.
He spoke German at home when he was a boy. That's where it
Oh, okay.
German was my first language.
Oh, okay. So how much would your grandfather have sold a broom like this for?
I remember selling this kind of broom for 75 cents.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I'll take 2.
When I was a teenager, I used to be able to make 11 dozen brooms like this a day.
Wow.
But I slept good that night, I can tell you that.
That was decent money then, wasn't it?
I've got 5 brothers, and they all make brooms, and my dad used to compete, made us compete with each other. My oldest brother came in the broom shop, and he said, "Yeah, Henry, he's the middle, and he made more brooms than you did." So he tried to beat me, but none of them beat my 11 dozen.
Huh.
That was a record.
I bet.
See what holds the broom together is a little nail. Take it, drive a nail in the handle.
better hustle.
Since this is a whisk broom, what I do, take and cut the handle off. So now what I do, I let it dry. The end I work with is wet. I soaked it half an hour this morning. So the end I work with is wet. So next I can put it in the stitching press, squeeze it together, put on my stitching cuffs. So I take a needle, it's got an eye in the center and point it on each end. That's so I can just need to go back and forth without turning the needle around every time. So I take some nice, pretty colored blue, something like that. Take my needle, now I start from the left, go to the right.
Is this a clarinet? I don't know.
Loop it around the broom twice.
Okay. I know my strings, but I don't know my
I come up from the bottom.
Over here.
Now every time I go back, I start on the bottom and I come out on top. No, I start out on the bottom on this side, I come out on top. And every time I go back and forth to tighten it, it tightens up these 2 strings.
Did you see that?
And every time I go back and forth, I give it a good tug. It looks a little scrossy, so I got a big knife here. I give it a haircut.
Write a lot of books.
That's what
I don't have
his parents taught him.
Even though it would sweep better the other way, if it's untrimmed, people look at it, it looks just like a scrossy broom, they don't want to buy it. Well, I trim a little bit and they sell a lot better. So go figure. Finished product. Took about 15 minutes maybe.
Terrific. Thank you, sir.
Well, you're welcome.
Yeah. Okay, we gotta scrub it on the washboard. Scrub, scrub, scrub. We need to scrub more, or is it pretty clean?
Scrub more.
Scrub more, okay. Yeah, working on the farm, they get dirty, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you need help with stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Right now I'm making 2-pound bowls. So each of these bowls starts out as 2 pounds of clay. And you can see a bunch of them over here that I've already done today. So I am the potter in residence here for the Glen Arbor Art Center. And this is our classroom for clay. We have kids classes, adult classes, all through the summer. And in the other room is the classroom for painting classes and photography, woodblock printmaking, just whatever classes they're offering. So right now I'm just smoothing the rim on this bowl. It's almost done. Then I cut it off with the wire. And then, because I need to make some pouring bowls like these, I'll put a spout on it. And then after these dry for a while, they'll be trimmed, and I'll put a handle on the opposite the spout.
Ready, folks? Hey, Dan, I think your shoelace is untied. Oh, only 4, we got him.
All right, let's hear it for the winner on the outside. All right, now we're tied up at 1 apiece. We got 1 event left. This is going to determine our bull of the woods, the best man in the camp. Our next event is going to involve the old crosscut saw, the misery whip.
It's named after my ex-girlfriend. Hope she's not here.
Yeah, I hope so. Now, if you've ever met Ethan's ex-girlfriend or pulled a crosscut saw, you'd understand why the lumberjacks would call it that. There's a lot of work involved in using one of these saws, but when you got a good man on the end of them, they could outproduce 4 men with an axe. They're highly prized in the logging camps. Our event here today, it's 1 man, 1 saw, pushing and pulling. First man to get a complete disc or cookie on the ground is going to be the winner. We're all tied up at 1 apiece. This is going to be it. How many think Ethan's going to win it over here for the back? How many think the old guy's got just enough left to win it for you guys on the field? All right, we're going to need your help just like we did in the chop. I will raise my hand. Hey!
What?
What are you doing?
I'm just idling.
Oh, yeah. All right. All right, I'm going to raise my hand. We need you guys to give us a countdown to get a 1, 2, go. You guys ready? Hold on. 1, 2, go! Come on, Nathan!
I gave him the bigger side, folks.
Folks, our bull of the woods. Let's hear for Ethan over there on Mill Creek side.
Here with Carrie Kelly, the renowned volunteer emeritus or whatever. And
I don't think I'm emeritus because I'm still volunteer.
yeah, I know that wasn't the right word, but the all-star volunteer. So what were you going to tell me about here,
So
Carrie?
we're at the Thorson Farm and a blacksmith demonstration here at the Port Oneida Fair. 2 weeks ago, I went back to my home farm in Wisconsin and was doing some repair work on the farm, and I found this. This is a rivet forge. I found it in the trash heap in one of the shops, and it was used to have a forge and a fire so that you could do kind of portable blacksmithing out on the farm. This was completely frozen and rusted. I remember it as a kid, probably 50, 60 years ago, just being used to store junk. in our shop. My great-grandfather was a blacksmith, and I'm sure this was his. And we got her loosened up and cranking. I brought it along with me so that I could let the kids find out what it was like to run a forge. And we fired up the forge, and the fire had a blasting fire, and so after probably 100 years of not working, it's back to work.
Carrie, that is about the coolest thing I have heard in a week. So that is really great.
It's pretty cool, and the kids have been using it all day yesterday. They were out here cranking away. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
So,
okay.
gives you a nice breeze up through there. Alrighty.
Okay, thank you. What's your name, sir?
My name is Jim Berta, and I'm an oval shaker box maker.
Huh.
And also I make other items. I make the French rolling pins, I make cutting boards. The shaker boxes are a historical item that came over from Germany early in the 1700s. When they got here, there was nothing here other than the trees in the forest that they could make things out of, so they brought their trades with them, and they were able to make boxes because there was plenty of beautiful trees in our country here. And that's how they came about in the U.S. And it was a trade that they passed on to other people, and then the communities would move on to other parts of the U.S. and pretty soon they were pretty well covered in most of the Mideast, and they moved on into Kentucky and Missouri, Ohio, Indiana, and I helped move it up into Michigan.
Now, I'm totally ignorant, so a shaker box, what is the shaker part of it?
The shaker boxes, the reason for them, they kept things in them. First they came out as pantry boxes. They could keep food items in them. These were considered sewing baskets. This is what they would keep their sewing items in.
So when you call it a shaker box, is it because of the type of construction that makes it a shaker box?
That's what they called it when they brought it over here, and they were called the Shakers. That was their name. They were considered Shakers. They were celibate. They didn't marry. So what they did, they took in children that were abandoned, and anybody else that wanted to move into their community. Well, and that's about the end of my story.
Well, very good. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
Oh boy.
Ready?
I'm ready.
Tell us to go. Tell us to go.
Ready?
Wait, he's gonna get one.
So do you want to do it too?
Okay.
Ready? Set. Go. Okay, so now I'm here at the Thorson farm with someone who I've met in the past. Her name is Michelle. And what is your last name, Michelle?
Jairus.
Jairus?
Or Jaros if you're German.
Okay, yeah. And where do you live, Michelle?
Maple City, and we have a gallery in Cedar.
Oh, great. So I don't know about you, but I just really like Michelle's work, her pictures and things, so I'm just going to kind of pirate all these images in a minute, if Michelle doesn't stop me. I see the Burfine farm here on the left.
That's the Thorson farm, the high.
Oh, huh?
The one on top?
Yeah.
It's the Thorson farmhouse, outhouse, and chicken house.
And this is kind of a nice one down here, just a lot of different scenes, huh?
Thumbnails of Port Oneida.
Oh, okay.
That's looking down at Burfine's farm.
Yeah.
And that's from the top of Lane Road.
About the hill above that. A lot of people, because there's no trail that goes there, so.
There is, but there's a lot of poison ivy.
Yeah, but I mean, there's not like a designated trail. You just have to follow this old pathway, and so it's kind of a nice out-of-the-way spot.
Mm-hmm, it is. And then that little cabin is on Bash Road, at one
Yeah?
of the settlements.
Yeah, it's the Schmidt farm.
Oh, good to know.
Somebody could have a good time going out and finding all these spots and comparing them with your pictures.
Yeah. And that's at the Olson farm.
Uh-huh.
And the garden is much greener now. That was done early this year.
Uh-huh. The Olson farm.
Right.
I mean, the last one, too, both of these two.
Yeah, all three. And then there's Oogie, who comes to the fair every year.
Oh, is that David Watt's horse?
Yeah,
or Becky Thatcher?
Becky's.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you once again, Michelle.
Well, sure, thank you.
Well, that's interesting, though, that there was. So she was a Thorson team from Norway.
Don't get too close to me, I'll break your camera.
Okay.
Not literally, but you know, it might fall apart.
Okay.
She married the black.
What is where some of the cedar and get Travis to come as well because simplicity is everything. If you don't have it, people simply don't know. And I have another idea as well.
May I ask what you're making a picture of?
Yeah, my mom said I have to make a picture of that.
You have to make a picture of that barn?
No, just a picture of all of that.
That whole scene?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that'd be nice.
All these families sitting out and you know, especially if you had somebody in uniform.
Mind if I take a video of your picture? That looks like the barn.
Yep.
That looks very accurate. You must do a lot of art.
Thank you.
Mary Crane, one of our favorite volunteers for Preserve Historic Sleeping Bear. Okay, so I'm in the equipment shed here at the Thorson farm, and I see by the name tag this is Christy Trout, correct?
Yes, correct.
And what do you got going on here, Christy?
I coil baskets out of mainly pine needles, but I also coil them out of grass. Coiling is a very ancient method of basket making. It's done with needle and thread as you sew a coil of material to the previous coil and go round and round and round until you get to the end and then you stop.
Huh. So this is Kim Mann, the organizer here. How are things going, Kim?
Very good.
Huh?
Very good. So as you've been wandering the fair, how's it looking?
Oh, wonderful. It's perfect.
Okay, good. Excellent.
Yeah. So I was here yesterday and another gentleman told me a little bit about the idea of this chair, but I don't think he was a person that really uses it or needs it. So what do you think about this?
Well, it's certainly better than having to walk around there.
So here's my old friend and neighbor, Laura Seeloff.
Good morning.
You're going to get up and act civilized for us.
I'm trying.
And tell us about what you do, Laura.
Well, we, obviously, I have invisible friends, but we go out and clean up old farm dumps. People used to just put their trash in a pile in the back of the property, sometimes on the edge of a hill to keep it from eroding. And found all this beautiful colored glass, bring it home and tumble it in a rock tumbler, and then we make all kinds of baubles out of it.
Wow.
So
make bottles out of it?
Baubles.
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 What is a bauble?
Oh, you know, look, it's bubbling.
Baubles are
Yes.
all of these
All-
earrings,
yes.
necklaces.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
It's a generic
yes.
term.
It
Okay.
is, yes. Earrings, key rings, necklaces, lamp pulls,
Well, they're quite beautiful, Laura.
Thanks, yeah.
Now I'm going to be a total stick in the mud for just a minute as an old ranger. This sounds like wonderful cleaning up that you do, but not in the park.
Not in the park, no,
Okay.
no. As a realtor, I find them on private property.
Yeah, cool.
And get permission. And usually people are not offended by us cleaning up their stuff out of their yard or their forest.
And people think it's crazy, you know, that the Park Service, you know, is that way about it. But, you know, a lot of people...
They're pretty cool.
Yeah, people enjoy finding those old beer cans and whatever.
Yeah, every farm kind of has its own story, too, we've noticed. Different habits.
Yeah. Yeah.
By the trash that we find.
Oh, okay.
Some things we're not going to talk about.
You learn a lot about people,
You do.
huh?
You seem to. I don't know what farms they were.
Yeah.
Maybe my friend Tom Van Zorn would know the history of some of the properties. Even in our own neighborhood, I found some.
Yeah?
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this is beautiful. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
I didn't have much money, but I bet you I could leave with my coat and colors that my mama made for me. So the patches on my britches, the holes on my shoes, in my coat and many colors, I hurried off to school just to find the others laughing and making fun of me in my coat and colors that my mama made for me.
Okay, here at the Deco Farm under the tent. Who are you, ma'am?
Diana Gellenic.
Pardon?
Diana Gellenic.
Okay. And what are you up to?
I'm doing stick weaving. It's a very simple form of weaving.
Oh.
You can make coasters, pot holders, rugs. Most of the time the rugs were made out of this. And the loom is very portable. It's just it's a board with numerous holes, and then there's sticks. So hence the name stick weaving, that just go into the holes. What else would you like to know?
And then you just pull them off the poles and it stays, or do you have to feed something through the other way?
There are, once you weave it back and forth, you pick up your sticks and push your work down onto your warp threads, which have been woven through your sticks.
Oh. Oh, okay.
Can you see them?
Yeah, and then you just start another batch up on the stick.
Then you start another batch up on the sticks. And then when it's all said and done, each of your fabric, your warp threads are knotted. So when your pieces are brought down, it won't come off.
Oh.
And then when you're done, you not do the same procedure at the top of your piece, such as this rug.
Yeah.
See, it's knotted on the end.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's knotted up on the top.
Yeah. Huh.
It makes a very durable, strong rug.
It's kind of ingenious, isn't it? It's such a simple thing.
Very simple, very portable, yep.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, now, I'm at the Thorson farm, and who are you?
Dave Jordan.
Okay.
Dave Jordan. I am the person who painted this year's poster. I've been painting Port Oneida for probably 7 or 8 years, and the way I try to approach Port Oneida when I paint it is to actually try to create a painting that uses techniques other than just brushwork. Most of the time when you use a brush, you get a very defined texture and a defined look. What I try to do with Port Oneida, because of the different textures that they have here, is to use different techniques. I will use wax paper, I will use salt, I will use different types of liquids like alcohol, I use very thick paint, I use watery paint, and each one gives a different texture depending upon what I'm painting. There are some shingles that I was painting on that was on the side of one of the houses. And the shingles, I actually flicked the paint on with a toothbrush.
Well, I'm making an ash basket. I'm just plaiting it with ash that I've prepared. And this ash is rather white, so I know that it has come from an ash, a ring, a growth ring on the ash tray that's on the outside of a new growth ring, because as you get into the center of an ash tree, more to the center, the hue of the wood changes to a little darker. So I know this is from an outer growth ring of an ash tree.
And you're just basically weaving it, looks like.
I'm weaving it. I'm weaving this. Now you can do other things with it, but I'm just basically weaving this.
Well, very good. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
I know some of the animals, not all of them.
Hi there, buddy. All right. Excuse me. Excuse me.
What are we rolling here?
You want some? You want some? I got some for you. Huh? You want some? I got some for you.
Are there any of these critters here that you care to point out and tell anything about?
Very good example of a Rhode Island red, right in the center. 2-month-old saddleback goose, right here, right next to him. Sebastopol goose, she's about 2 years old. The yellow ducks are the Peking ducks, little Peking ducks going around. They're about 10 days old. In the trough is a snowy call ducks, there, and a very excellent example of a Moran rooster right here, Murray the Moran rooster for your backyard.
They're all raised together. So they just all spun like
And how do you fit in here?
I'm the owner.
These are your critters. Well, thank you for that little tour of the wildlife, or domestic life.
This is the brooder house at the Deco Farm. The brooder house at the Deco Farm.
Thank you.
Not like Tom can.
That's how you measure.
That's where you measure. And you know, like if I want to buy a horse from her, I'm going to say, well, Susan, how tall is your horse? And she'll say 17 hands. Well, let's say I've got one I want to match. I want to, let's say I've got a horse that's 18 hands. I wouldn't be interested in her horse.
He's got one.
Riding on the city of New Orleans, it's sailing on the Central Monday morning rail. It's 15 cars and 15 restless riders. We conducted 25 sacks and all along the southbound I-60. The train pulls out from Kankakee, rolls along past houses, farms and fields.